Hello everyone, my name is Yuzo. This is my presentation for this week. It's Cultural Challenge. So I would like to share my real story that happened to me during my nursing practice. So this is Lisa. Lisa was a breast cancer patient. Lisa was a made-up name. She has been in the hospital quite a while, so I've been taking care of her on and off for 3 months. So today I walk into her room after a shift change. I noticed something that I have never paid attention to. Her food tray has always been the same type of food, and she has barely had any bites. Lisa was rather a nice and quiet lady that she would never complain a thing. She only asks questions that are necessary, and she barely talks. So this time I decided to dig more into her diet and also the story behind it. Like why she's eating so little. So, as we know, Lisa is from China. According to her, that her husband passed away not long ago. Her husband is the one who running the household, who cooked for her. In her words, that she's spoiled by her husband because he really took good care of her, and also the stuff around the house. So, her husband always cooked Chinese food for her, and she's not really used to eat American food. She hasn't touched any burgers or fries or anything like that. She doesn't speak much of English because her husband is always the one that kind of taking care of everything around the house. And when she go out, she always goes out with her husband. So, she doesn't really, and also living in Los Angeles, there's a heavily populated Chinese immigrant community. She doesn't really have to speak much of English. And just by her nature, she's very quiet and non-complaining nature. Like I said, she doesn't even talk and stuff. So the influence here is that Lisa, she's from Chinese cultural background. Her food preference is a non-American diet. Typically, it's Chinese diet, and Chinese diet contains quite a lot of preferences, but typically rice is a must dish. It's actually not a dish. It's considered as the main entrance. So rice will come with all the side dishes. The side dishes are like vegetables, meat, stuff. So even in Asian diet, that meat is not as one of the main entrance. It's considered as like, you can barely find any meat in any dishes because it's considered as like a flavoring substance that you really put a little meat to keep the flavor of the vegetable to a certain level. Dietitian, as in here, we can consult to see there's any Asian dietitians or dietitians who are well aware of Asian diet and Asian eating culture. So, preferably people who are from the Chinese background, who can communicate with Lisa and know what she wants and she doesn't want, to also keep her nutrition balance to the optimal point. And communication, being a Chinese immigrant, and I do understand that people tend, like Asian Chinese population, Chinese patient tend not to talk too much, not to complain much, and really quiet. And if they don't like the food, they just cannot not to eat. Even though Lisa's not eating much, nutrition is very important to her for her recovery. So I would provide nutrition education, as in how nutrition will be used as a complementary treatment for her health. Dietary balance, like eating, in her case, eating just vegetable, it's probably not enough. She does need like a nutrition balance such as iron from meat and proteins, especially in her case, she doesn't eat much and she have a muscle waste. That protein intake is quite important. And protein intake, partly from vegetables, and it's heavily found in meat products. So a balanced diet is quite important in Lisa's treatment. Spiritual support, part of the reason that she's not eating much may have to do with her death of her husband. She may be still in the grieving process in both of her health and her husband's passed away. So in this case, because Lisa is Buddhist, so we can find any Buddhist religious workers who can carry out some spiritual religious support for her, which can maybe heal her and boost her dietary intake. How my own culture and my spiritual related to take care of my patient here, as in Lisa's case. I mostly grew up in Western culture, so my own diet doesn't really reflect 100% of Lisa's diet preference. I can eat from Chinese diet to American diet. I can have a burger for lunch. I can have Panda Express for dinner. I can have just vegetables for breakfast. It really varies. So knowing that my preference it's quite different from Lisa's, that I would not personally giving my suggestions of my preference to her, that I would rather let her decide what she wants and consult that with the dietitian. Chinese culture, I'm from a Chinese background, and I do understand that in her communication style that she can be quite mellow, quite submissive in nature, I guess. And I guess you can also use another word like passive, which more precise in describing how Lisa is. She really doesn't complain anything at all during the whole stay and whenever I took care of her. All she ever asked was, pain medication whenever she experiences any pain. I understand that in Chinese culture, passing off the immediate family member is really hard, as most Chinese live in a communal groups, like communal lifestyle. What I mean by communal lifestyle is typically family, grandparents, grandkids, mother, father typically live in the same household as a community. They support each other, they cook for each other, they depend on each other. So as you can see, Lisa is pretty much by herself. She doesn't have any kids. So the passing of her husband is quite a hit on her. She is all by herself now, and the grieving part of the passing of her husband can have heavy influence on her diet intake. So what I learned from Lisa's experience, it's for any patients in the future of my NP practice, for any patients that I need to have a dietary consultation session with, to learn about their dietitian preference, because each individual will have different dietary preference. Even, among Chinese can have different, like some may like spicy food, some may like salty food, some people prefer not to eat meat at all. Some people are vegan, don't even eat any eggs, so milk products. It all depends on individual preference. So from that, we can draw an individual diet plan. Eating time can vary from person to person. What I mean by eating time is, some people like to eat early in the morning. I've seen Lisa, she's, like I said, she's very flexible, very quiet. She doesn't complain whether you bring her breakfast at 7 or bring her breakfast at 10. She doesn't eat much anyways. But some people have stick to a strict eating schedule, like they need to have their breakfast at 7, they need to have their lunch at 12, and they need to have their dinner at 6. So that's kind of like a preference from, learning from person to person. Communication styles. In Asian culture, people tend to be more passive and not complaining nature. So you kind of have to dig into what their preferences are, what their like and dislikes. However, in Western cultures, people tend to speak up about what they like and don't like, and what they want for tomorrow. They will let you know what's good for them and bad for them as well. Other factors influencing dietary intake can also be, like in Lisa, that will be passing off the immediate family members, their financial situations. Some people worry about spending too much in his or her diet. So they may just, okay, I'm gonna eat something simple like just eggs instead of any steaks, which costs more. Some people also, because of religious reasons, they really cannot take any meat at all. Like Asian Buddhism, they are prohibited from eating